rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, and a very happy, belated May the 4th to everybody out there. Yeah, you know, I'm loosening up on the May the 4th. You know, there was a time where I kind of subscribed to the more cynical view. Wait a minute, that's not really the anniversary. That's the made-up Hallmark holiday. And there's definitely a case to be made for that, for sure. But I got to tell you, I mean, when you love Star Wars as much as we do here at Rebel Force Radio, you can't ignore it. You know, the whole world talks about it. Yeah, I mean, you literally have world leaders making proclamations and talking about Star Wars. So, you know, you got to get out. You got to celebrate. Why not celebrate? But I understand the contrarian point of view on it. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun. And especially when people know what a fan you are, and they kind of they're nicer to you on Star Wars Day on May the 4th. They wish you they know it matters to you, and they say, oh, hey, you know, May the 4th be with you, and they think they're all clever, you know, like they're the only one that's going to say that to you for that day. But, oh, it's adorable when the normies all participate. But anyway, we got a great show for you this week, as we do each and every week here at Rebel Force Radio. And I should say a special welcome to anyone who has discovered Rebel Force Radio recently by way of our Maul Shadow Lord after shows. Those were so much fun to do. So if you missed any of them, they're all available on YouTube and on the Rebel Force Radio podcast feed. Check them out. We break down week by week the episodes that were dropped. And of course, we had the big season finale here just a few days ago, and it was great. So lots of fun there. We do have some Maul news, a little bit of coverage as it ended its first season. Also, some interesting statistics were released as part of Star Wars Day. So this was a bit rare, where it seems like maybe Disney Plus was opening the kimono a little bit to the folks at the Hollywood Reporter, really showing us what people are watching, how much, what cohorts. That's a marketing term. You know, your various demographic cohorts and generations are watching on Disney Plus, and the results may surprise you. We'll have our analysis of that coming up. And also, we're just now, 2 weeks away from the Mandalorian and Grogu hitting movie theaters, and RFR was there for the big IMAX sneak preview. So we'll have a breakdown of that, and so much more here on Rebel Force Radio. And by Rebel Force Radio, I mean me. My name is Jason. And if you're new to the program, welcome. And with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. May the 4th be with you week. Yeah, that's right. There's a Star Wars Day, but I'm claiming the whole week. I don't know if people are prepared for that, but it's true. Star Wars week is upon us. And what a week it was. My goodness. There were so many things going on, from the appearance of Darth Vader on the Maul Shadow Lord season finale to Mandalorian footage being revealed via the IMAX 25-minute sneak peek. And so much more. You know what? There weren't too many big announcements, actually.
No.
There were some cool things released, but there were no big announcements. Like, we didn't hear about what's in store for the future of Star Wars animation, or what's up with the streaming series slate. It seems pretty empty after Ahsoka comes and goes later this year. And no real news about anything. So probably no news is good news at this point in time.
Well, Jim, there might be a simple reason behind this, though. This is the first May the 4th that we've had without Kathleen Kennedy at the helm.
Yeah.
And she was definitely one to not let a PR opportunity slip by without her announcing something, whether there was any reality to it or substance. Who cares? Hey, James Mangold, get over here.
Yeah.
You had a Star Wars idea once, right?
Come on, I'm going on stage in 5 minutes. Give me something. Give me something. Make a commitment. Do it. Do it. Do it now. Do it right now. Make a commitment now. Do it. Do it. So, sometimes I get the feeling that's the way some of these things really went down. I don't think we're over-exaggerating or anything. But yes, May the 4th week is upon us. And I love how other fans of different franchises always seeing us Star Wars fans having a good time. And so they want to copy it somehow. So James Bond fans have now said October 7th is James Bond Day because the 007.
1007. Okay. All right.
Up.
That's kind of clever.
And Star Trek fans, they always say the date of first contact. Like, the fictional date of first contact.
First contact day. Yeah.
And I don't know if the Harry Potter guys have anything or the Marvel Avengers fans.
I think the Potter folks have Harry's actual birthday, the character's birthday in October. I think that's Potter what Day. It is. Or September. I really don't know. I like Harry Potter. I appreciate it. My daughter's a big fan, but I'm not a big enough fan to know what Harry's actual birthday is.
See, they try to find all these in-universe connections. That's why I like May the 4th so much. The only connection it has to Star Wars is it's just punny. That's it. It's punny. Yeah. None of the other ones are punny. So we take the puns here at Rebel Force Radio and run with them. So May the 4th be with you works for me. And it's more fun than the actual anniversary. May 25th, that's not punny.
No, there's not. There's nothing really. Although it's a great day, and it's certainly important in Star Wars history. But did you have people at the day-to-day job coming up and treating you a little bit differently on May the 4th?
I walked in there, saying it loud, saying it proud, with the Star Wars baseball hat on and Star Wars 77 emblazoned on my shirt.
So they couldn't miss you.
So they couldn't. No, I wanted to make a point of that. And I knew I was leaving right from work to go to the Mandalorian and Grogu sneak peek screening.
Right.
So I wanted my fashion to be on point. But what was interesting for me is for like 10 years, I worked freelance. So I didn't go into the day job.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 years ago, I got myself a day job. And,
well, it sort of got you. I feel like
it did. Yeah, right. I wasn't looking.
Right.
Next thing I know, I'm punching in.
That's when opportunity tends to knock. I'll throw this out to the young people: is you tend to find things when you stop looking for them. That's just what sort of happened to me.
I think you're right on. Well, yes, I was made an offer I couldn't refuse. So now I'm punching in Monday through Friday. And the last two May the 4ths have landed on Saturday and Sunday. So this is the first time in forever I'm going into the day job. And so, I wanted to dress appropriately. And I did get a few. I said, hey, big day for you, huh? Stuff like that.
Big day for you.
Stuff like that. And then I had another coworker who was like obsessed with the Paul Lynde appearance on the Star Wars Donnie and Marie episode. He came in like 3 times to talk to me about it. He had just discovered it that day.
Well, it's not Paul Lynde Day, for God's sake. I guess for your coworker it is.
Oh, he'd come in there and he'd be like, May the 4th be with you.
Oh, my goodness.
Is this going to go on all day? I'm going to be getting paid random visits from a Paul Lynde superfan.
We'll help you out there for some of our listeners. Uncle Arthur on Bewitched is probably one of his better known roles. And then, of course, the center square for many years on Hollywood Squares, kind of like the original center square.
Mm-hmm. And he was in Bye Bye Birdie.
Bye Bye Birdie. He was the dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was the dad.
He sang, "Kids,
So, Paul
what's
Lynde.
the matter with these kids today?" Yeah.
And he was really a staple on a lot of those 70s variety shows and TV shows like Donnie and Marie. And so on Donnie and Marie and their Star Wars episode, which you can stream on YouTube or somewhere, you'll see Paul Lynde. He kind of serves the role of Tarkin in their creation. He's Tarkin.
He's Tarkin.
You may
I'm
fire
Tarkin,
when
baby.
ready.
Yeah. You almost expect in this scenario, you almost expect like a Rip Taylor to come in as Chewbacca throwing confetti.
Throwing the confetti. I think I should throw the challenge out to Steven Stanton, who's a great mimic and voice actor, and of course inhabits a full Tarkin. I think he should try to do the Paul Lynde Tarkin. There's a challenge for.
I don't think he'd find that very challenging.
You don't think so?
No, I bet. I mean, here you and me are doing the Paul Lynde voice with relative ease.
I mean, Steven Stanton could really do it, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, he would totally recreate the voice in a very authentic way.
No
sound
doubt.
just like him. So, Steven, if you're listening, it was Swank's idea, not mine.
Yeah, all my idea. But hey, we were just talking about, we're going to cover some Maul here in a little bit. And I know that there's people that have actually discovered Rebel Force Radio through the after shows. That's one of the great things about doing these after shows. And we have another after show coming up. This is a big one. This is going to be the first time we've had an after show about a Star Wars film in quite a few years. So we've got it, and we're going to be doing it live in person, Rebel Force Radio live in Cleveland at Playhouse Square, Saturday, May 23rd, 2026. That's the day after the big release date of the film, and it is going to be awesome. So tickets are still available, on sale now. You can get them at rebelforceradio.com. You can go to playhousesquare.org, and the doors are going to open at 5:30. We're going to do a podcast from 6 to 8. And then at 8:30, we've got a really, really cool event happening at the Hoffer House, which is just a few steps away from the theaters. So you don't even need to worry about getting back in your car and driving anywhere. It's so convenient. And we'll debut this today. We've got a special commemorative poster that everyone who attends the after party, the after show, is going to get. So these will be available. And as a matter of fact, I've got one hot off the press here. We've made sure that these are good quality cardstock, so they're not that thin stuff that's going to get crushed in your suitcase. We know we have a lot of people that are going to be traveling here to Cleveland. And so, yeah, hope you like it. Everybody's going to get one of those. And if you want us to sign them, we'll have material, we'll have the pens there and everything. We can sign them for you. But anyway, it's going to be a really great time. Jim, all the details are coming together with what we have in store. But the main topic for that podcast is going to be our breakdown, our initial breakdown, because I'm sure we'll be talking about it for weeks and weeks and months and years afterwards. But our initial breakdown of the Mandalorian and Grogu film, a lot of pressure, coming into, having to break it down. We've done it many times before with the whole Star Wars sequel trilogy and Rogue One and Solo and all of that. But it's been a while, and there's a lot riding on this release. I can't wait to hear about your experience at the IMAX theater and that footage. I think we could tell everyone now we're going to go spoiler free, I'm sure, on your description. I assume we are.
I was going to talk to you about that because I'm not sure. I've seen people reporting on this screening online. And I think if we give a spoiler alert, we should anyway.
Yeah, of course.
We should anyway. And because there are things I want to, like sequences, without going into specific detail. There are sequences I want to discuss a little bit because it was so fast moving. And I mean, within the first 25 minutes, here's something I'll give away from my review a little early. In the first 25 minutes of the film, you go to 4 different planets.
Impossible.
So it's possible. It is possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something.
that's pretty fast moving, if you ask me. Usually the way Star Wars movies break down, you're on one planet for the beginning, you're on another planet for the middle, and then maybe a third planet at the end. But this is 4 planets in the first 25 minutes, folks. So
wow.
Yeah, it sounds like
That's
Star
great.
Wars storytelling on steroids a little bit to me. But a lot of jet setting. A lot of jet setting.
All right. I'm
so
excited.
that's good.
Yeah.
You should be.
All right. So once again, Mandalorian and Grogu, our RFR live after show. So we're going to be there. It's going to follow a similar format to our after shows that you've come to enjoy. Tyler Page will actually be there. He won't be screening calls, but he'll have the handheld mic and working the audience, and you can ask your questions instead of calling in. So we also will be seeing the film the night before on May 22nd, and those details of the screening and all of that can be found. I think it's on the website. I know for sure it's on Patreon. But yeah, we'll be there. And as of last week, there were still tickets available for the screening that we're going to be at. So
yeah,
you want to be in the room?
It's at the Cinemark Valley View XD Theater, 6:30 p.m. screening. And yeah, there are some tickets still available for that too. So if you want to hang out in the same theater as Jason and I and a bunch of Rebel Force Radio listeners, then join us at the Cinemark Valley View. This is a casual hang. This isn't like a sanctioned RFR event, but hey, let's make it one.
Yeah, we're going to be there.
At the Cinemark. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But then after that, like I said, we've got this after party. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a couple of different private rooms, including a private beer garden, which is going to be great. So great times happening all night long on May 23rd in Cleveland at Playhouse Square. Cannot
And don't
wait.
forget, Tyler will be hosting a Star Wars Beyblade tournament at the after party. And so you can pick up the Beyblades. They're available on Amazon, Star Wars Beyblades.
I got to do some research on this. I don't know what these are.
My kids were into them like 15 years ago. They're tops, and you pull a ripcord on them, and they spin very fast. And I think some of them light. Maybe all of them light up. I don't remember.
These aren't like Pogs, like back in the 90s?
No, these are actual tops, like plastic
okay.
and metal. And you pull a ripcord on them, and they spin really fast.
All right.
And they're sturdy and they're durable, and it's rather kick-ass. So Tyler's bringing the blades, the Beyblades.
The Beyblades.
It's just another fun thing.
Yeah.
And we got a couple other fun things too planned. So we might reveal all of them before we do the event, or we might save some as surprises. So stay tuned. If you haven't got your tickets yet, get them now. Available at rebelforceradio.com. Just look for the links, click on them. They'll take you to Playhouse Square, and then you can purchase as many tickets as you'd like.
You got it. All right. So, oftentimes, we hear different things that perk up our ears when we're experiencing new Star Wars storytelling. And Maul Shadow Lord was no exception, Jim. We were so... during the after shows, we got, of course, very caught up in the plot and the characters and whatnot. We didn't always have time to talk about what we were hearing with the sound design. And, you know, sometimes sound design takes a back seat to the visuals, right? Because it's a little bit more subtle and in the background. But I know your ears are always perked whenever you're experiencing some new Star Wars. And there were several things, I believe, that caught your ears and your attention throughout the course of season 1 of Maul.
I was really impressed by the sound on Maul Shadow Lord. David Collins did the sound design for the series, and he did an awesome job. I, of course, have worked with David in podcasting, and I was with him when he mixed down a Star Wars documentary once. So I've seen the man in action. He's very talented. David Collins is a very talented sound guy. Anyone who used to listen to our old show, Star Wars Oxygen, would understand that. And Star Wars Oxygen is now exclusively available on RFR on Patreon to all those in the Clone Warrior tier and higher. So occasionally people ask me, hey, what happened to Oxygen? Well, that's where it's at now. Oxygen's home is at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. So Collins, he's very creative, as I said. And they really featured a lot of coverage of the sound design on StarWars.com. So it was pretty exciting to read occasional articles that would mention a specific moment in the show, and they would talk about the sound design that went behind it. But I would always take it one step further, because I, of course, have the key to the RFR Sound Lab. And I had a pole installed in the Sound Lab. Not for that, Swank. I'm not going to be dancing, but it's so I can come down the pole like Batman.
That kind of pole. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
It's like Batman into the Batcave, except it's me into the Sound Lab. And I try to employ all these tricks that I know when it comes to deconstructing audio. I've been doing this for 30 years. I get real creative with things in the studio. I'm like a mad scientist. So there were certain things that really piqued our attention along the way. And I have some of them here that you may have heard on the Maul After Show and some that you haven't heard because we never played them. The first thing that really caught our attention was Maul Saber speaking. Remember in the subtitles at one point it said Maul Saber speaks. It was very much inspired by the whispery chants that you hear in Duel of the Fates. That kind of stuff. So I would pull apart these certain sequences in the show, and I took that Maul Saber speaks segment and I took that into the Sound Lab and pulled that thing apart. And I was really able to isolate the sound of the saber speaking really well. So the first one we'll hear is the first time the saber spoke, which was, I think it was episode 3. It was following the initial duel between Devin and Maul, where he's really trash talking her and tempting her with the dark side of the Force. This is right before she leaves. So according to the subtitles, that was Maul Saber speaking.
Huh.
Which was a head scratcher, to say the least.
Yeah.
And then at the start of the next episode, which I think was episode 4, it began with Maul Saber. But this was longer and way more anguished sounding. So I isolated it.
No, that's real creepy, man. When you hear it like that, that's real creepy stuff. And I know that it got some of the RFR listeners and people commenting in the chat during the after shows about whether this was Sith magic or Sith power, whether this was more Dathomirian witch stuff that was kind of stirring around. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this predates any Dathomirian witch canon. So I think in terms of, if you take it by what John Williams and company thought about it, it was just sort of evil ambiance Sith, I suppose.
Yeah. It was like
I think there was even a language. Isn't this all part of that same language for the chorus, the Duel of the Fates chorus?
Right. Which I always thought was just pure gibberish. It was just,
it probably is.
It was like vocal exercises, It just didn't seem like, I mean, it works great in the context of the music, but I never thought they were actually communicating anything. But apparently that's the Sith speaking. So that's really interesting. Now, another thing that was interesting, when you start pulling apart the sound design in the show, this was tipped off to us in a promo video for the show created for StarWars.com. And it's the cast and crew talking about Darth Maul and whatever. It's one of those videos on StarWars.com. And they talked about actually incorporating sounds of Witwer into Darth Maul's lightsaber.
Even the way it sounds is more extreme.
You actually hear the sound of Sam screaming built into the saber.
Wow.
And you hear some of those whispers too.
Yeah.
Those saber whispers.
Dang. I mean, they went very conceptual with a lot of this stuff. And this, I think that's a lot of Sam and a lot of David Collins, like sitting around and just talking a lot of this stuff through. I mean, it's definitely well thought out, but it's a lot of them just coming up with cool stuff, cool ideas.
Well, one thing that David has really revealed in this show, as far as his approach to sound design, is that he really layers a lot of sounds on top of each other. And it can be a challenge to try to isolate certain parts of the track. It really can be. But when I heard Witwer and Collins talking about Sam's voice and his screams actually being incorporated into the sound of the saber, I had to go through the whole season and look at every moment Maul ignited that saber to see if I could find it.
I got to ask, one, how long did this take and how late at night was it when you were going through all this?
I mean, it's midnight hour stuff a lot of times. I would look at the clock and go, it's what time? Oh my God. But I can't stop, once I start going down that rabbit hole, I can't stop. So early on, it presented its challenges to me as far as isolating the track and trying to pick apart these little sounds that make up the individual sound of Maul's saber. And you'll hear why on this next track. What I did here was I took the sound of the full mix as we hear it on the show, and then I stripped it down. So the first one is Maul saber. We're going to play it, and you're going to hear the sound as you heard it on the show, and then you're going to hear it as I cleaned it up. So you'll be able to hear Witwer's voice a little more clearly. So you hear that?
Yeah, I do.
Now here's where I run into the problem. Is that the character making that sound, or is it the saber? Is that the sound of Maul making grunting noises while he duels, or is that the saber? I think in that case, it's supposed to be the saber.
You say this is from the duel with Devin, right?
Yes, that's the first duel.
Which is, he's handling that pretty well. I mean, she's just a kid, she's just a Padawan. So I guess you could say that he's probably not vocalizing much himself. So I would agree with you. That's probably inherent in the saber versus him. He didn't seem all that exasperated in the duel to where he was huffing and puffing.
And you couldn't see any facial expressions that conveyed he was making those sounds, or any, movement of his mouth, really. Right. I tried to look as close as I can. Sometimes it's from the side, it's from the back, it's hard to tell. But just by the way it's timed out to me, it seems like, and the way it's cut, you can hear it's cut, and he makes that noise every time the saber connects. I think it's supposed to be the saber. Can you play it one more time?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if that's supposed to be the combatants making sounds, because I almost feels like I hear Devin.
Some of it I feel like is her.
Yeah. And also, when we hear the saber speak with those whispers, I noticed in the longer one, the more anguished one, there's a female voice mixed into there as well. So maybe it's like the Force, the dark side of the Force, speaking through both Maul and Devin. I don't know.
Yeah.
These are questions that would
again, very conceptual, very deep, very layered.
Right. So here's another saber moment where I tried to isolate Witwer's voice.
Saber moments with Jimmy Mack.
This is from the first episode when he is raiding the Janix police station to get Ludivario out of the jail cell. He kills one of the cops here, and you'll hear it, but I think this is Sam, and I think this is the lightsaber. But again, you run into that problem. Is it the victim making that sound? Who's making this sound? But I still had fun isolating it, and this is one of my favorite ones.
Watch it. Go, go, go.
You hear that?
Oh, see.
Now listen.
Yeah, see, the fact that they put that effect on it, that I think that's the saber. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like combined with the electrical current effect. Yeah. Wachow! Wachow! Gotta add that into the drops. Wachow!
It's really interesting. Yeah, that's a really fun one. And it does convey a lot of the violence of the situation too, with all of these layered sounds. Now, here's the last one of the Maul saber. I had to stop. It was taking me down the path of insanity. But this is an interesting one because this is when Maul ignites his saber. And I hear a voice mixed in with the ignition, almost sounding like an S, like that. S. So let's play it. You'll hear it. First, you'll hear the mix we hear on the actual show itself. And then you'll hear it as I gradually strip it down. And then the last thing you'll hear is the S.
Then let us discover the truth. Then let us discover the truth.
Sure does sound like it. Sure does sound like it. Now, Jim, we know that when actors get on the set of a Star Wars film and they get lightsabers in their hands, they start to make those vocalizations, right? We heard this is a legendary story, Ewan McGregor, and even as grizzled as Liam Neeson is, he even got himself caught up in the moment and was making sounds. And I remember we would be interviewing the Clone Wars crew, and they would talk about when they would get to their fight sequences and they'd have to record those oofs, oofs, those sounds. And they would talk about wanting to make the lightsaber sounds. I just wonder, is this just stuff that Sam was doing in the studio, or in the booth, and then Collins is like, maybe I could work some of this stuff into the final mix. But
yeah, maybe initially. Things like this often happen via happy accidents. That's what I've noted in the studio. You discover things. You get creative. You start, and with Collins' case, he's layering, and he's building something. So I think he might have done, listen to that Sam right there. That would be cool. What if I mixed it with the lightsaber sound? Oh my God, does that work? And then he starts then telling Sam,
yeah,
hey, Sam, make this kind of, give me an S so I can use it for when the saber ignites and things like that. So then the creative juices start flowing. Right. And the happy accident then goes from something that just occurred naturally into something that's being very well thought out and executed and specific, make this sound, right. Make that sound. Oh my God, this is so much fun. You really get into it. And something that Collins got into, along with Vanessa Marshall, who was the voice of Rook Kast, was depicting the death of Rook and making it sound really hideous. So according to Vanessa Marshall on StarWars.com, she said she wanted the death of Rook to sound like somebody was ripping her lungs out through her throat. And then
that's a visual.
Collins added, because it's Darth Vader who's killing her, Collins adds the Darth Vader throat crunch sound that you hear at the beginning of Star Wars: A New Hope when Darth Vader chokes Captain Antilles to death. And if I remember correctly, I think Ben Burt said that was somebody breaking just number 2 lead pencils on a microphone.
Yeah, breaking something like that. I don't know if it was like pencils or was it carrots or celery or something, but yeah, might have been number 2 pencils.
So we heard this on the last after show, but I just want to play it again as we review all of the Sound Lab experiences or experiments that the Darth Maul show provided us. This is one called The Death of Rook, Isolated.
Someone is out there.
That is I don't think I've heard that sound. I mean, until you did this, I didn't hear that sound isolated. It's gives me the willies.
Yeah. There's a little juiciness mixed in there too.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say, I didn't
Some
really notice that. Right there, though, I definitely heard the juicy. Yikes. So that was one we played on the most recent after show, but there was one other one that we didn't get to. And I was reading on StarWars.com. They have quotes from supervising director Brad Rao, who said, in the mix on the back end, David Collins is always adding weird stuff. When you hear a little turn of the crow's head, Collins put in this creaking weird sound. It's great. We call it bone leather. Okay, bone leather. So I read this, and to a guy like me, those are my marching orders. Bone leather? I got to hear bone leather. I'm dying to hear this sound effect. So it was difficult to fully isolate, and I have some dialogue. First you'll hear Merrick, then you'll hear the bone leather as the crow turns his head to respond to Merrick, and then you hear Merrick, or the crow talk. So listen for the little turn of the crow's head, which is a creaking weird sound called bone leather.
They were here. They're making their escape.
Oh, I heard it. Yeah. Bone leather. Dang.
Bone leather, my friend.
By the way, Bone Leather will be playing at the Agora next Sunday at 7:00 p.m. Get your tickets.
7 o'clock?
Yeah.
That's a little early for that one. I was expecting a midnight showing. Bone leather.
Yeah, you could definitely hear that. And, we had talked on the after show about up until that moment, we hadn't heard the crow, the 11th brother, have any dialogue at all. So that was the first, I think, only line of dialogue that he ended up having. We heard Merrick talk quite a bit, but
he talks a little bit in the Tales of the Jedi
with Ahsoka. Yeah,
with Ahsoka, he has a couple of lines, and then she kills him right away. There's not much back and forth between the two. But bone leather, can I hear bone leather one more time?
Please, it would be my pleasure.
They were here. They're making their escape.
Wow.
I love that voice on the crow. Yeah. They're making their escape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if Maul did nothing else, and Maul did a lot, you can hear us talking about it on the after show. It raised stakes, and it made the villains of Star Wars scary again. And that is so important. The villains in this show were all scary and felt very much a threat, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the scoreboard. They all survived.
Yeah.
You know who didn't survive? A lot of the protagonists.
Right.
Including the guy whose perspective we were getting the story from the most, which was Brander Lawson.
Right.
I mean, even little Ludi Vario won. He survived. I mean,
yeah.
So let's talk Ludi. Let's wrap up our Sound Lab segment talking about Ludi Vario, everyone's favorite Alina. Ludi was voiced by Chris Diamantopoulos. And Chris, in addition to playing everyone's favorite little underworld guy, Ludi Vario, he played Mo Howard from the 2012 Three Stooges movie by the Farrelly brothers.
Which, by the way, I find to be a little underrated. Those
actually
guys,
really good.
Those guys do a great job in that movie. All three of them are fantastic.
It's actually very enjoyable. And you think, oh my God, the Three Stooges, that was lightning in a bottle. Those guys, they were so original that you can't create a spin-off movie about them played by other actors. But it was great. It was really funny.
So. Yeah.
It captured a lot of the Stooge vibe.
Yes.
And it was very appreciated by fans of the dumb movie genre. I never knew it was a genre until John Marcoux told me it was. I said, "Hey, did you hear that the Farrelly brothers got a Three Stooges movie coming out?" Marcoux's like, "Yeah, I'm there opening day." Because he is an aficionado.
Who's so cerebral,
Yeah.
He's our Jedi yogi, and but he loves, what is it? Dumb movies? Is that what it is?
He says, "I am aficionado of the dumb genre." The dumb film genre.
Dumb film genre.
Mm-hmm. So if it's dumb or if it's dumber, he'll go see it. And that's our John Marcoux, who I hope I can get to the theaters to see Mando and Grogu, and he can give us a little mythological breakdown of that film.
It'd be great.
So our last clip here then is, of course, the tribute that I put together in the Sound Lab to Chris Diamantopoulos' IMDb entry of Mo Howard in the Three Stooges film. Ludi Vario is Mo Howard. And that point gets through loud and clear when you hear this Sound Lab creation.
Why would I want to start a war with you, Demas? I got too much to risk.
Make me look weak. Try to take over my territory.
No. Whoa. Don't do anything crazy. We have a truce, Demas.
Leave him alone, you big bully.
Over here, you moof-milking laser brain.
Well, I like when, these actors, they sort of bring in, all the, various roles that they've had prior, and, it all informs the current work, the past work. So respect.
There was, how thin was the line between Han Solo and Indiana Jones? Well, how thin is the line between Ludi Vario and Mo Howard? Think about it.
Very much so.
You're not small. You're super tall. I love you, Vario. Yo, Mo, all the Three Stooges were short. I think they were all about 5'2".
Yeah, short little Jewish guys. Yeah.
Where is Maul? Tell me. I'm right here.
Rebel Force Radio.
If you are out there and you're sad that you don't get 2 episodes of Rebel Force Radio each and every week because the after shows have wrapped with Maul, fear not. There is always more Rebel Force Radio over on Patreon. Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Jim, what do we got going on over there right now?
Well, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio is a place you can go to support Rebel Force Radio, get bonus podcasts, full show video, early bird ad-free releases, and so much more. We have great shows over there. RFR RPG, where we're playing RPG, and that's where you get the adventures of podcasters and Grando the Grand. We have the Babu Freaks monthly show featuring Chicago area Star Wars fans talking the wars, and of course RFR Q&A, which is our weekly show, sometimes more than once a week. It shows up at RFR on Patreon, and this week we have RFR Q&A number 294, Origins of Thrawn. That's right, Grand Admiral Thrawn is in the spotlight on RFR Q&A number 294 because it's hosted by RFR VIP Guillermo from Spokane, who is the biggest Grand Admiral Thrawn fan we know. And he walks us through the Marvel comic adaptation of Timothy Zahn's novel Thrawn and explains how a Chiss from the unknown regions was able to rise up in the Imperial ranks and become heir to the Empire. So we talk all about the comic adaptation of Timothy Zahn's Thrawn, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful conversation, and really turned me on to that particular story. So I'm reading that entire adaptation myself right now, but Guillermo does a wonderful job breaking down panel by panel almost the entire story. So that show is available via audio podcast and full show video. It can be found only at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Join today. There's all sort of different tiers you can join. Obviously, the higher up the tier, the more stuff you get in return. And you also get access to a great community of Star Wars fans and Rebel Force Radio supporters. Many familiar names you will find among the ranks of RFR on Patreon supporters, from RFR insiders to VIPs. That's where you'll find the greatest collection of Star Wars fans anywhere on the internet. That's patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message? Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey guys, it's Curtis in Omaha. Certified mall rat. I'm loving the Maul Shadow Lord show. I just wanted to share. I keep having this thought. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But it would be so cool if we see that Palpatine actually went down to find Maul and saw the state that he was in, and what and rejected him. Maybe even kicked him or sent him into the garbage chute that took him to that garbage planet. Because then we would have that moment to juxtapose with him discovering Anakin on Mustafar. And to have the, oh, he's still alive for Anakin moment, but then this all-out rejection of Maul's state at the end of episode 1. And then I think it really lends some credence to Maul's hang-up on being told that the Emperor just wants him dead. I think it's possible. In my brief rewatch of the Clone Wars episodes, it seemed like early on his goal was to more so get remove Dooku and who supplanted his role, so that he could almost reassert his worth to the Emperor. And then it seems like maybe ever since he was imprisoned at the end of episode 5, he became much more upset with the Emperor himself. He hinted at, it wasn't just that he moved on. It was some other betrayal that really split him. So anyway, I think it'd be cool to see that. I don't think we will, because I think the opportunity was in that chain of flashback. But I just wanted to share that with the whole gang. All right, you guys have a good one. Bye.
All right, thanks very much. Appreciate the call. And when I first heard this, my thought was, well, here's the difference between the two scenarios where you have Maul being cut in half and falling down that shaft in The Phantom Menace versus Anakin being dismembered and on the shores of the Mustafar volcano. To me, the big difference between those two is that Palpatine wasn't showing up on Mustafar as Darth Sidious. He was showing up as the Emperor of the Galactic Empire. He was checking on his one Jedi that was loyal to the Republic to the bitter end, and he was there flanked by his guards. Whereas at the time of the Phantom Menace, Darth Sidious had to be really, really careful about going out in public. He was hanging out in those outskirts there on Coruscant, where he met Dooku in episode 2. So I don't think that this, in my headcanon, this didn't happen. I don't think Palpatine went to Maul or his aide or to check on him, not because he wasn't interested or didn't care, but I think because he can't go out there and check on, this monster there on Naboo as the benevolent chancellor. So I think it's just different circumstances.
I like the visual the caller presents us of Palpatine going down there to check on Maul. Well, he must be at the bottom of the pit, right? And then he sees him, and Maul is still alive, just pathetic, chopped in half.
Yeah,
kind of crawling around, maybe, dragging him around. And Palpatine looks at him and says, "Oh, you're just a waste of space," and he kicks him down a garbage shaft. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be
I mean, it's dark.
Fun thing to see.
Certainly
and it would really,
add.
and that would really fuel Maul's hatred. But revenge against Kenobi is really the thing that was fueling his hatred at the time. And it's not until he gets picked up by the Mandalorians, after he gets defeated by Kenobi and Asajj Ventress, too, by the way. He and Savage get defeated by Kenobi and Ventress. So they're floating out in space in this powerless ship, and the Mandalorians find them. And that's when Maul's priorities shift. And he looks to overthrow the planet of Mandalore and build this shadow collective. And to what end, though? To what end? When Palpatine then gets wind of this, Sidious, I should say, he travels to Mandalore and confronts Maul and Savage. Maul, as soon as Palpatine walks in, Maul immediately takes a knee. And he says, Maul, the first thing Palpatine says is, "Hey, I'm really impressed you survived that whole being chopped in half thing. That's amazing. It's very impressive." And Maul says, "Yeah, essentially I've done all of this for you, taking over the planet Mandalore. He did it all so someday he could return to Palpatine's side." That's what Maul says. And Palpatine doesn't buy it. He says, "You're trying to deceive me." And he unleashes holy hell on Maul and Savage, kills Savage, and blasts Maul with a bunch of Force lightning and takes him prisoner. So that's where Maul developed a hatred for Palpatine and realized that he had no place at Palpatine's side anymore. So that's where his hatred and motivation comes from when it comes to Palpatine, and why he's seeking revenge on him. It's because he was betrayed. He was cast aside.
Well, that's what you're describing there. That's the moment of real rejection.
Yeah.
Our caller was suggesting that maybe that moment would be cool if it happened earlier, like, on Naboo, but yeah, you're laying out exactly. I mean, so it's plain as day. It may lack the visual punch that our caller is, hoping to get, but it's all there in the story, exactly as you laid out. Yeah.
It's all there. So that's why I'm talking about it, is because I don't want to let the listener think that there's no actual setup for this stuff, that there is the setup for him having this motivation. And the only reason, but see what the mystery of this all is Palpatine does not kill Maul. He says, "I have other uses for you."
Right.
So maybe he cloned Maul. Who knows? It's hard to
Maybe
clone.
Maul was like a Rancor keeper, but instead of the Rancor, it was the Zillo Beast. Because remember, Palpatine also
he had other uses for.
He had other uses for the Zillo Beast too. So what has he got? Like this petting zoo of various creatures and monsters.
So that is the mystery, though. What were the other uses? And so we were speculating, maybe Marok is some sort of Maul clone underneath that mask. And people will say, well, you can't clone a Force user. But I don't know, does that also count for the dark side of the Force? Because, it appeared Snoke had Force ability, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's murky here. Like, you can clone a Force user because they're still a biological organism, but it doesn't. But the cloning process doesn't transfer the Force abilities. At least that's the way I understand it. So you could clone them all, but he's not going to have the abilities that the original Maul has.
How does that explain Snoke? Because doesn't Snoke have Force, or is he just an avatar for Palpatine? See, these are the problems.
Yeah, they haven't really explained it. I wouldn't say they've explained it at all. Because he says in the Rise of Skywalker, "I am Snoke."
Yeah, right. So you'd have to assume those Force abilities all come from Palpatine.
Right.
So what, he possesses Snoke or something?
Like Snoke's some meat puppet that Palpatine is controlling through the dark side, animating through the dark side.
That's pretty cool. I wish there was more explanation of that.
Yeah, right? Like I could buy that.
Yeah. And and something foreshadowing Palpatine's return is what those movies seriously needed. And even Rise of Skywalker, they could have foreshadowed the return of Palpatine, but no, they just throw him right at us right out of the gate.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right in Kylo's head.
They don't lay any groundwork for that.
No.
That's why people are so disappointed, because all of that stuff was just done from the seat of their pants. And this is one of the most important movie trilogies of all time, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Most anticipated, the thing that fans are most connected to. And you don't get a second chance. Although there is some goofy rumor floating around online saying that Lucasfilm has had top-level meetings to discuss whether or not they're going to use the world between worlds to abolish the sequel trilogy. And I'm like, well, if you were going to abolish the sequel trilogy, you do have a very handy little tool at your disposal in that world between worlds.
Yeah.
But the thing you can't ever do is resurrect Carrie Fisher. Nor can you make Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill younger. Well, I guess you can with your goofy technology, but we wanted the real deal.
Yeah, they had their shot. They had their shot.
You had your shot. And it just goes to show you that sometimes tomorrow isn't always guaranteed. And it also shows you that Star Wars fans won't just ignorantly lap up anything that has the Star Wars logo on it. You have to have substance behind it, because that's what brought us all here in the first place, is that the original stuff had substance. The George Lucas stuff had substance. Even if Jar Jar Binks annoyed you, those films still had plenty of substance.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, nostalgia wasn't the stock and trade of the prequels.
Not at all.
Right? I mean, George, I remember reading interviews or hearing quotes from George Lucas years before the prequels came out, and him saying, when people would ask him about new Star Wars, and he would say, well, I don't know how people are going to react to this, because they're very different stories. They're going to be very different from the original trilogy. And indeed they are. You can just look at the visual design. George talked about how he purposely avoided things like fashion when he was creating the original trilogy, and he walked head into fashion. I mean, look at Padme as an example. Probably it's one of the first scenes you see is Padme in these incredible outfits and stuff. So George was right, and he didn't. Yeah, you got Anakin Skywalker meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. You got great lines like that made you go, get excited as a fan of the original films. But it wasn't all about the member berries and that sort of thing. So I think they were afraid to lay down. It's odd. Like in some ways they were afraid to lay down new track, and in other ways they didn't lay down a lot of new track. It was just retread and whatnot. But I do hope. Here's the thing with the sequel trilogy. It's not the sequel trilogy we wanted or deserved, but it's the sequel trilogy that we got. We still got to see Han Solo back and Luke Skywalker back and Princess Leia back and all that. So maybe these other stories that are going to be told through animation and through live action can do what the Clone Wars did for the prequels. We've been saying that for a while. Sequels, yes. I think it's just, I wouldn't give up on it. I think that there's some mystery boxes that need to be opened and explored in these series. But there's a reluctance. Like, think about how Mandalorian was just rapping on the door of the whole cloning conspiracy, and then it just kind of dropped it all.
Yep.
It's almost like they're afraid of it.
Well, I just think the bottom line is they really don't have any good creative ideas on where to take it. That's the problem with mystery box storytelling. If you're going to create the mystery box and keep it closed all the time, then what's the point of it? You have to have a game plan. If you're going to create a mystery, you need to know the answer to the mystery before you create it. If you just create the mystery without having any solid answer, then that's going to absolutely hamstring your storytelling. And it'll become obvious to the audience you're making it up on the fly. We'll be getting into news headlines here in just a minute, but before we do so, I want to remind you guys that the Forest Moon Festival is returning May 28th through May 31st in Humboldt and Del Norte counties in California, where Star Wars Return of the Jedi was actually filmed. You've heard all of our reports from this event. You've heard our podcast. You've seen our videos. You've heard our interviews. And now we want you to take advantage of the Forest Moon Festival and celebrate Star Wars Return of the Jedi with screenings of Return of the Jedi, Spaceballs, and the holiday special documentary, A Disturbance in the Force. There'll be live music, celebrity guests, including Ewok actor Kevin Thompson, Maul Shadow Lord head writer Matt Micknovitz, RFR pal and Fanboys director Kyle Newman, along with Star Wars comic book expert Mike Hansen. There'll be live Q&As, cosplayers galore, and much more. So visit forestmoonfestival.org for more information, how to get there, and follow on social media for the full event schedule. Forest Moon Festival, where fandom meets the forest. For full schedule, tickets, travel information, and everything else you need, visit forestmoonfestival.org.
In 1983, George Lucas introduced the world to the Ewoks, a race of creatures indigenous to the second moon of Endor.
Rebel Force Radio.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, just a couple of weeks away, the triumphant, we hope triumphant, return to Star Wars in theaters, but some lucky folks got a chance to get a sneak peek, IMAX style, of The Mandalorian and Grogu, a special event that was held across the nation on May the 4th. And Jimmy Mack, you were able to snag your spot. So tell us, what was this all about? And did you have to wait in line? And did you get right in there? I know that you said you were all decked out at the day job, and you knew you had to bolt out of that and get to the big special look event.
It was great. Stopped by Burger King on my way there to get my my Grogu garlic chicken fries and Grogu cheesy tots. It was all right. But so I was fueled up on that, and I went to go see the screening, and it wasn't like any kind of special invite sort of thing for influencers handpicked by Disney. No, these tickets went to the regular guy fan like me, and all I had to do was just jump online and secure my spot right when those tickets became available. Shout out to Tyler Page for giving us the heads up that this was happening, and because I would have missed out on it if I didn't get that heads up from Tyler. So props to Ty guy. And I got in there, and the theater was wide open, ready to go. And so
no
I
queue outside or anything like that.
No.
Okay,
there may have been before I got there, but they had the IMAX theater open an hour before the screening began.
Okay,
so I got right in there, got a comfortable spot, and just chilled out and scrolled, And I, just looked around a little bit, then scrolled. I did look at the concession stand, though, because they were selling AT-AT popcorn buckets.
I saw these. These are,
yes,
they look huge. It's like you have a dog on your lap.
I guess that's how it works. I don't understand where you put the popcorn or anything. But they had these things, and they were $80 a piece.
Oh,
$80 for the AT-AT popcorn bucket. All I could say to myself was, thank God I don't have little kids anymore. Because
12-year-old Dylan wouldn't have left that theater without that AT-AT popcorn bucket.
Oh, I'm telling you. And I have 2 boys, so that would have been $160 in a hole for AT-AT popcorn buckets. Wow. I mean, my God. And then the Grogus were $45 a piece. That's steep, man. That's steep. I did grab the Grogu, though, just to see what the quality was like. And it seemed like it's a high quality piece.
Where'd you put the popcorn?
I didn't dismantle it or anything, but I assume you screw his head off.
Oh, geez. That's dark.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. They also had these silver Mandalorian helmets, which I think are mugs. But I'd even bother looking at the price from that. I was still in sticker shock from the AT-AT popcorn bucket. I just thought that was outrageous. Outrageous. So the preview begins. The lights dim. First they read us the riot act, Don't record it. We're watching you. And then the lights dim. And
now was the theater full? Like sold out, essentially? Or reserved out, whatever it was?
I saw things online where they were saying all of the screenings are completely, quote, sold out. But from reports I heard, and at my theater, that wasn't the case at all. I heard there were some theaters in Chicago where a couple full rows were available. In my theater, it was probably filled up 50, 60%. People just scattered about, Yeah, so it wasn't packed. I mean,
could have been no shows. It could have been all the tickets were actually claimed, and then people just decided, or they couldn't make it or whatever.
Exactly. It's so easy to not show up at a free event because you haven't made the financial commitment. And people might have said, well, I can wait 2 more weeks. But I couldn't wait. You know that. And I had 2 tickets myself and only used 1. So that kind of explains the 50% part.
Yeah, good point. That's right.
A lot of people were in similar situations. So the lights dim and on comes our preview. No crawl. Let's get specific. Should we spoiler alert this stuff?
Yeah, I think we should. Let's do it.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
All right. So now I can be spoilerific. And you're okay with that, right, Jason?
Oh, yeah, I'm totally good because I read the actual the description of what people saw. So,
yeah. Well, then what do you need me for?
I don't, but the people do.
All right, people. Here's what I got for you. No crawl at the beginning. It opens with 2 paragraphs setting things up. And you can see these paragraphs if you watch the Mandalorian and Grogu special look as seen on Disney Plus. Did you watch that?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So some of the footage that they screened on IMAX earlier this week is similar to that footage. So the film then begins, all right? And now this is stuff we don't see on the sneak peek on Disney Plus. There's that Imperial meeting that we saw happening in the trailer on the snow planet. So there's an Imperial warlord, and he's shaking down local civic leaders. I guess they all live on this snow planet, which was not identified as Hoth, by the way. It was not identified at all. But this Imperial warlord, who you can see they made a Black Series figure of this guy.
Yeah.
And he's just called Imperial Warlord. He doesn't even have a name. But he's shaking down these local civic leaders in exchange for protection, quote, protection. Mm-hmm. And so while this is going on, because, you know, these guys want to bring back the greater glory of the former empire. And while this meeting's happening, all of a sudden there's an alert on the base. So they all jump into action because Mando and Grogu are raiding the base. So this is where you see Grogu versus the polar mouse droid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they call that thing, a polar mouse droid. And they're wreaking havoc in this base when all of a sudden they get discovered by an ATRT driver. So he's a guy there. He's on the walker, the individual use walker, ATRT. Mando and Grogu defeat that guy and they hijack the ATRT. They run down the cliffside right into oncoming AT-ATs. They fly up on top of the AT-AT and Mando goes inside while Grogu waits up top. Now you get into all the footage that they showed in the 3-minute Disney Plus special look that was released on May the 4th. Mando kills a bunch of snowtroopers, goes back to the roof, blows up the cockpit, flies to another AT-AT in a very Iron Man sort of moment that I felt. I was like, oh God, this is so Iron Man. But the cockpit's empty when he arrives in this other AT-AT. So he looks in the cargo hold and that Imperial warlord is flying off on the mini rig, the INT-4. Mando goes into the cockpit of the AT-AT and aims to shoot down the mini rig. Grogu's pounding on his helmet because the warlord has wired the AT-AT to explode. Grogu sees the explosives and he's trying to alert Mando to this. Mando shoots down the mini rig, and then right as the AT-AT is blowing up, they fly up out of the hatch. Again, very Iron Man. And they fly up into the U-wing where Zeb is flying. He's their partner in crime. And they jump to hyperspace. When they do that, you see the title card. That's the end of the special look that was on Disney Plus. So before I get into the rest, I just got to say, I believe that the AT-AT action we see in The Mandalorian and Grogu is pound for pound the best AT-AT action we've ever seen in live action Star Wars. It's really
all right. Okay.
Forged for IMAX indeed. So now we get into the opening credits. And yeah, there are opening credits. You see the title card and it says starring Pedro Pascal. And Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, they get top billing in this as well.
Oh, good for them.
Really cool to see.
That's great.
So the intro is really interesting. It's kind of like a spaghetti Western type of intro, not like the Sergio Leone things, because those things were so stylized and animated and cool. These are more, this feels more like a 70s TV show, sort of.
So what's on the screen while the credits are rolling? Is it animation?
They're flying to a Delphi base.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay.
You know, they arrive and they unload and they walk out of the ship and everything and walk across the base, and they go into one of those Quonset huts where they find Colonel Ward. They have and then that's when the movie, the credits stop and the movie starts. They meet with Colonel Ward. She gives them the assignment to find this warlord named
the guy
Coin.
that flew off and escaped.
No, he didn't. He got shot down.
Oh, so this is another warlord.
This is So like this is what Mando does. He goes out hunting down Imperial warlords for the New Republic.
The deck of cards of bad guys that he talks about.
He's not a bounty hunter anymore. He is, but he has one client, the New Republic.
Yeah. Okay, so instead of capturing random outlaws or people that owe other people money, it's these warlords that many of them we were introduced to in the Mandalorian series with the Shadow Council.
Yeah, right, exactly. Those guys. So this sets up the plot, I assume, for the film. After the opening battle, this stuff all gets established. Like, what's the point of this movie going to be? Or what's the quest that the Mandalorian and Grogu are going out on? So in order to find this Imperial Warlord coin, they need information from the Hutts. The Hutts, the twins, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to Nal Hutta. So now this is the third planet we're going to.
Okay.
He goes to Nal Hutta, meets with the Hutts, the twins. They're sitting there just like we always see them sitting there. And they say, yeah, well, we have information about this warlord you're looking for, but you got to do something for us first. You got to go and rescue Rada the Hutt. And they show a little hologram of Rada.
Stinky?
But it was, he's stinky then. He's the little Hutt.
Okay.
So that's why, remember in that footage of Jon Favreau?
Yeah.
With, I think it was Adam Savage.
Right.
And they noticed that there's a maquette of Grogu sitting there. Well, that's why the maquette was created. It was for this
the hologram.
Yeah,
okay.
So I don't think there's going to be any flashbacks or anything. So to find coin, Mando strikes a deal with these Hutts that he's going to go rescue Rada. So this is where it gets kind of like it gets a little twisted. They go to a different planet now. Now we're on our fourth planet.
Because he's looking for Rada.
He's looking for Rada now.
Mm-hmm.
The Hutts told him to go to the planet Shikari. And the first thing I noticed when they landed on this planet was it felt very Blade Runner. But I noticed in the background they had elevated trains on platforms. And I was like, wow, that looks like Chicago. That's like, holy smokes. And sure enough, I mentioned this to somebody at work. And I said, they got a planet, it's like Chicago. And he goes, it's supposed to be. And I said, what do you know? And he knew of this interview where he didn't tell me who said this, but that Shikari is supposed to be Prohibition era Chicago. So think of like the Untouchables.
Yeah.
The Chicago you see there is supposed to be.
And it's called Shikari. So it kind of has that Chicago. Okay. All right.
I guess cool. So. Yeah, that's something I never even really thought of because it's spelled with an S, not a C.
Okay. But still sounds
spelled it with a C.
Yeah. That might have been too on the nose.
Shikari, Shikari, that toddling town. So that's when he bumps into the Martin Scorsese food truck vendor. And I firmly believe that Favreau wanted to put a food truck into this movie because of his other movie, Chef, where he plays a food truck guy, which it's a movie I like. He asked Scorsese about Rada the Hutt, and Scorsese's like, yeah, everyone knows Rada the Hutt. And he points to the wall, and there's a poster of Rada the Hutt. And he's this gladiator. And so they take you into the gladiator arena and you see Rada the Hutt like destroying an opponent. It's some dude. It's not even like a monster or anything.
Oh, okay.
And he starts flexing and stuff and he smashes up the guy's weapon. And then that's when the title screen pops up and then they roll into like trailer footage. And that was the end of the 25 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah. Right when they introduce Rada, That's
I was really enjoying the story time. I was like, and then what happens? And then, all right, we got to wait and we'll find out.
Yeah.
So you weren't kidding. 25 minutes and what you said, 4 different planets.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you could just tell the pacing of this thing is rapid fire. As with most Star Wars movies, you know, it takes several viewings for it to slow down a little bit. That's one of the things that I think draws us back to Star Wars movies over and over and over again, is because the pacing has always been rather swift.
Yeah.
So, and I felt that with this movie. I felt like it was a lot of fun. And it makes sense to me that they showed us 25 minutes of it, because this is a movie that's based on a TV show. So to promote it, essentially, they showed us the first episode, you know?
Right.
If you consider the movie to be a season, they showed us the first episode.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty well, I thought. It felt to me way bigger than any episodes of The Mandalorian, except for maybe the Crate Dragon. That episode,
that's pretty unforgettable.
Premiere.
Yeah.
That was very cinematic and felt big and huge. All of this feels like that sequence, especially the AT-AT at the beginning. And I could tell there's some really exciting stuff happening on that planet Shikari with the Gladiator Arena. I definitely wanted to see more of that, and felt a little flattened when all of a sudden it ended. I have to say Ludwig Göransson's music is great.
Yeah.
Obviously, he plays the very established music that we've heard in The Mandalorian and music of that nature.
I would assume we hear the main theme during the credits.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But there were moments during that AT-AT action sequence that I thought the soundtrack sounded very John Williams inspired. Extremely John Williams inspired. And then when they get to Shikari, all this techno music kicks in, because you know that Ludwig he's a very experimental musician, and he incorporates lots of technology into the music he makes, new and old. He doesn't care. So it was very exciting. It was an awesome preview. I want to thank Lucasfilm and Disney for giving us the opportunity, free of charge. Yeah. And they gave us posters at the end.
Did you get one?
Cool. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Normally you have it up on your easel behind you.
Oh, the music stand? Yeah, I should have set that up.
Yeah.
I should have set that up. Maybe next week. But they were nice posters. Poster art we've seen before.
Yeah.
So
is it what was it, the actual poster, or was it the special one, the artwork that they did for Mando and Grogu? This one here on the screen.
Yeah, it's
that one.
Right
yeah,
there.
That's the poster that they made special for this event.
Yeah,
versus the one sheet.
Two-sided.
Oh.
So on the other side, you flip it over and it said IMAX, and it was Mando and Grogu from the side. And they're like looking at each other, and Grogu is reaching out toward the helmet.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Yeah. Sort of like how he did at the end of season 2.
Well, while we're talking spoilers, Jim, this is something that I meant to bring up last week and we ran out of time. So I'll make this brief. But the good folks over at Penguin Random House, they sent me a copy of the art of coloring The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yay.
And it's a coloring book, but it's more of, it's one of those more adult-oriented coloring books. A lot of different lines in shapes and backgrounds and stuff. Because, they found out that this is like therapy for adults, coloring, apparently.
Yeah, no, I got some coloring books here somewhere.
Yeah, and like some of these things, like, where it's like kind of more abstract, where you have, little shapes and things to color. And, so you're supposed to get out your colored pencils, I think, with this. But anyway, I'm flipping through, And I'm seeing familiar things based on the trailer that we saw. I see the raid on the AT-ATs, right? I'm seeing characters like the Remnant Troopers. I'm seeing Colonel Ward here, right?
Oh.
Everything is and a lot of really cute little Baby Yoda stuff, reaching out with his little hands, doing the baby hand thing. Of course, Mando. The Babu Fricks.
That's right.
Because they're in this film. And I'm just flipping through. Oh, Zeb, right? We've got Zeb here. Okay. So
Good old Zeb.
This is not a celebration of the Mando series. This is a coloring book full of moments from the film. And then all of a sudden, as I'm flipping through, I go, wait a minute. That's Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker with Grogu on his back. Luke is training. He's running. This is like what we see from Luke in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Very similar. So my question is, and here's another shot of Luke right here. We've got Luke holding Baby Yoda with R2-D2. Now,
and that looks very similar to the end of season 2, the season finale.
It sure does.
And R2's on the other page too.
Yep. Looking at Baby Yoda. I mean, I don't want to jump to any wild conclusions here, but again, there's no I have spoken. There's so it's not like a who's who in the Mando verse. This seems very much dedicated to the new film, and Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 appear in the art of coloring Mandalorian and Grogu. So should we assume that there's going to be some sort of flashback or some sort of scene where, we have seen where Yoda or Grogu is perhaps meditating in that kind of swampy, foresty area? Yeah. Could he be thinking back to his time with Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
I don't know. But makes me wonder if we could possibly be seeing that Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, well, your reasoning is sound. All of the other illustrations in the book are based on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, we assume.
Yeah.
And there's a couple pages featuring Luke in there. What's that all about? It's a Mandalorian and Grogu coloring book specifically. Right. Could the coloring book be revealing a clue?
Is this like the fate of Qui-Gon or the funeral of Qui-Gon?
Oh, when they put that on the soundtrack,
right,
and then released the soundtrack a month before the movie came out with a track called "The Death of Qui-Gon."
Death of Qui-Gon. That's
what a spoiler that was. Another big spoiler was Midnight Madness for Attack of the Clones, the Anakin Skywalker action figure. I removed the action figure from the card, and Anakin's arm fell off. And I said, "Oh my God, I got to fix that." And then I'm like, magnets are holding his arm on.
Oh.
So as a play feature, you're supposed to chop his arm off. Why would they do that? Oh, I think I know. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Yeah.
But that was the bad days when, spoilers, you would find them sometimes on merchandise like action figures. You don't have a chance to have that happen anymore because they don't make action figures anymore. Well, they kind of do, but they're just like phoning it in at this point. Totally. The 3 3/4 inch has been getting a little neglected. The Black Series has been reigning supreme for a number of years now, and that's sort of frustrating to watch.
But even that isn't as they're not as responsive as they used to be. I mean, I was looking forward to getting it would be great to get a Devin or a Jedi Master Daki to add to the collection. I think we've seen the only Devin we've seen actually is a render of the 3 3/4 inch vintage collection Devin from the Maul series. So I think the only figure that has been released for the Maul series specifically has been a vintage collection Maul, but it was just a repack of the Maul that we got at the, what would it have been, the end of Clone Wars.
Got it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll all be released for Black Series, though. Brander Lawson, Vario, Two Boots, all of them. Meanwhile, 3 3/4 inch action figures, collectors left into them.
You still don't even have the full Bad Batch in 3 3/4.
I got a single,
a Hunter, right?
Hunter. That's it. Yeah. They've since released Crosshair, but
Yes.
I've not acquired that because they released him when the $20 MSRP came into effect, and I still can't pull the trigger on
Max
it.
throwing down. He's voting with his wallet.
Trying my best, I'm trying my best.
Prepackaged Star Wars characters still in their display box? What's Luke? And Obi-Wan. And my favorite, Chewie. They're all here!
Rebel Force Radio.
I bet my Wookiee.
All right. Well, so May the 4th was full of a lot of celebration and pomp and circumstance. But as we said, Jim, not much in terms of announcements. Mm-hmm. There was no talk of films beyond Starfighter. There was no talk of a new television series beyond Ahsoka Season 2. And to make matters more interesting, something that is really a hallmark of the streaming era is the lack of transparency. Now, somebody who's worked in media most of their adult life, you're obviously no stranger to the idea of ratings and ratings books and being transparent about who's watching, who's listening. And that was largely dominated by the need for advertising and to justify the rates for advertising. But in the age of streaming, where it's still very much, well, if you pay this much a month, you don't get commercials. If you pay this much a month, you get a few commercials. If you pay this much a month, you get all commercials. It's crazy. It's crazy. So there's not a lot of transparency in reporting these numbers, but in all places and all streamers, one of the most notoriously, when it comes to being pretty much closed up about the ratings, is Disney Plus. And The Hollywood Reporter, by way of James Hibbard, covered this story. There's no way James just came across this. This is information that Disney, for whatever reason, wanted to get out there. Mm-hmm. And so the story is Star Wars Day, fans streamed the franchise for 33 billion minutes in the year 2025. So this is sounding, based on the headline, like a victory lap. Like, hey, look at us. Look at Disney. Mm-hmm. The investment paid off 33 billion minutes in 2025. Of course, they don't really contextualize it much. Right. 33 billion out of how many trillion?
I mean, what does that even mean?
Right.
Minutes.
What does it mean? But the streaming era is all the currency is minutes. It's time spent watching. They don't really talk about individual show. Well, they do talk about show titles, but it's all about the minutes. It's just very, very different. But here's some of the things that the data showed, and we found this very, very interesting. So Star Wars content viewing by format in 2025. So we're looking at the dispersion of animation from live action movies to live action series to documentaries. And interestingly enough, live action series came second to live action movies, but not by much. Just about 5% difference. So 44.2% of the time spent or the content viewing was live action movies. 38.9%, might as well say 39%, was live action series. So movies are still the single biggest bucket, but series are right behind them. Live action series is right behind them. Animation is smaller overall, but we'll get into the generational aspect of this, the generational slide, animation seems to dominate with Gen Z. So bottom line here is, well, as much as we all love the ILM documentary, that was only 0.2% of all Star Wars content viewed. Now, they don't specifically say that documentary, but documentaries in general. So behind the scenes footage and stuff like that, not even 1% it was made up. Now, animation is about 17%. So that's less than half of live action series is animation. And you know what? Based on the analytics that we get about our after shows and things like this makes sense.
Yeah,
this
it does
works.
add up.
It's about half the viewership. Animation's about half the viewership of live action.
I mean, don't you know many hardcore Star Wars fans who completely absorb everything live action, but they won't touch animation with a 10-foot pole? Those are cartoons.
Right.
So they just won't watch. The Maul show may change some minds. I personally know some people who never watched Star Wars animation, but they got sucked into the Maul show. So maybe more of that will be in the future for Star Wars and maybe less anime.
I hope so.
I heard there's going to be more. I heard there's going to be more anime. So.
Yeah.
But that's an experiment that I think has kind of run its course at this time. The first one, Star Wars Visions, was cool. The second one, I really preferred the second one because it wasn't all anime. It was all sort of different.
Yeah, it was
animation
multicultural.
Yeah. And then the third season, they went back to all anime, and it was just ridiculous. It was nonsensical, a lot of it, and hurts my head to even think about it, quite honestly.
I just feel like Star Wars has been around long enough. We don't need to be in experimentation mode anymore.
No, or I mean, to me, that just comes off as gimmicky.
Yeah.
And
right.
I don't think Star Wars deserves that. Yeah, I'm like you.
The takeaway for me on this stat, Jim, when it comes to the type of content that's viewed, and this is looking at the whole year of 2025, movies are still king. They're still king when it comes to Star Wars. Now, live action series is gaining on the films, but the films are still king of the hill, put it that way.
No, I mean, look at the resources they've thrown behind these streaming series. They look so great. A lot of people, I think, have a very blurred line when it comes between movies and streaming series. Some of these streaming series cost more than major motion pictures. So most of them do, as a matter of fact.
Well,
so there's no surprise there that they're on almost even footing as far as viewership goes.
Right. And we're going to get into the generational split here in a moment. But if you think about somebody who, I think about my own kids, especially my son who's 13. And, COVID was now 6 years ago, 5 years ago. So he was 8, and that's really when streaming took off. Like, in his mind, I don't think there's a whole lot of prestige that is given to going to the theater and seeing something as if it's better. You look at the way Disney handled Marvel, where they wanted to continue the stories of the films in the theater on the small screen. Star Wars wanted to do that as well. Although Star Wars technique wasn't so much continuing the stories, it was about telling different stories. That seems to be the big difference between the Marvel formula versus the Star Wars formula, where I felt like a lot of the Marvel series were picking up where the films left off. And, personally, I don't think Lucasfilm had the balls to do any of that. I think that's what it comes down to.
Well, I mean, that could be defined in different ways. The Kenobi series is certainly something that picked up after the films ended, the prequel films specifically. And the same could be said for Andor, which is filling in the gaps prior to the
I just didn't feel
trilogy.
like Marvel wasn't backfilling so much. Star Wars does a lot of backfill. Whereas I felt like Marvel was treading forward. I guess that's what I meant. But no, that's totally fair. Right. You're right. They were follow-ups, but follow-ups to films prior, I guess.
That whole filling in the blanks thing, I mean, really, George Lucas himself kicked all that off in 1999 with the prequel trilogy. And since then, it's become like a real trademark of Star Wars storytelling. All right, you know the story we told in the movies. Now let's fill in the blanks.
You remember when the Clone Wars was first on in those first couple of seasons, and it would drive us nuts because we'd be in the midst of, season 2, and there'd be an episode, and then, 3 or 4 weeks later, there was an episode that was a prequel to the episode that we watched 3 or 4 weeks ago. I just got into this conversation with the guy, a pal, and he's doing a big first-timer watch of Clone Wars. And I told him, I said, go and look up the playlists where they're in chronological order, because he was asking me questions like, what some of these episodes feel like they're, don't worry about it. But yeah, that was like just George just running amok. He would get all caught up with it, how clever they were on a particular episode, and he'd be like, well, let's see what happened before that, It's just crazy.
Yeah, it was non-linear at times. Yeah. And then around the third season or so, like midway through the third season, it locked in and continued to tell a story in a linear fashion. But prior to that, there were a few head-scratching times, like an episode pop up in season 3, and it would be just Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, where's Ahsoka? Where's Ahsoka during all this? And then you'd read on StarWars.com, this story happened before Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan.
Right.
It's like, well, what's the point of that? Isn't this whole series pretty much told from Ahsoka's perspective? Why are we then turning back the clock to a time before she arrived? It seemed odd.
It does.
And it was frustrating in the moment. But I think Leland Chi put out a chronological order in which to watch the Clone Wars that avoids that. So you have to jump around a little bit.
But Disney Plus makes it super easy. You're not switching discs like, back in the day that we had to do. Anyway, so that was very interesting, the type of content. This one, boy, does this say a lot. This is breaking down the various generations from Gen Alpha, which my son would be a part of that. That's 2 to 13. Gen Z, the 14 to 29-year-olds. Millennials, 30 to 45. Gen X, Mac and myself fall into that category. I'm towards the tail end of that. And then, of course, the boomers. So this breaks up the most streamed Star Wars titles by generation. This is Q1 of 2026. So this is looking at January through March. And Jim, there's one title that resonates with 2 separate generations, Gen Alpha, the youngest, and the boomers, the oldest, and that's Mandalorian. This is fascinating that when we look at the most streamed by generation, the oldest and the youngest among us are all in on Mandalorian. And I think
it's the baby Yoda factor.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Don't you think that's what it is? And I think there's
for the youngest ones, yes. Mm-hmm. But the boomers, I think that has more about the fact that it feels the most authentic Star Wars in a lot of ways.
And it leans hard on Western tropes, which might be very popular with baby boomers. Like a guy like my dad who thinks John Wayne is the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seen True Grit 500 times. The vibe of The Mandalorian might appeal to him a great deal if he ever decided to give it a chance. But when I asked my dad about Star Wars, I said, well, do you like it? He always says, well, you like it, Jimmy. I'm like, well, that's not answering. And he messes up my hair when he says it.
You like it.
You like it, Jimmy. All right, where's your mother? I need her to cut my pickle for me. Wait, Dad,
All right. I think this also has a lot to do with family co-viewing. I think that's a big part of this. That sort of it brings the generations together. You make a great point about Baby Yoda is a hit with the kids, and as well as Mandalorian being the character of Mando did himself being a hit with the boomers. And the boomers were obviously impacted greatly by Star Wars, but they were not the Star Wars generation. Gen X is what I consider to be the Star Wars generation. And what do the Xers like, Jim? Andor, Gen X and millennials. So those two groups ranging from 30 all the way to 61 at the oldest, Andor is the most streamed Star Wars title for them. So
now I thought maybe the sequel trilogy would find some traction with the millennials when you gather these statistics.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if Disney Plus was streaming back in 2017, you would be seeing some very different numbers. But here in 2026, the sequel trilogy is completely absent from all of these
entirely
statistics.
We're going to go through 3 key analytics graphics here, and the sequel trilogy, spoiler alert, doesn't appear on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
None of them.
So that to me indicates sequel trilogy burnout, and it puts into question the longevity of.
I don't think it stuck. I think that's the biggest problem with it.
And the characters within.
Yeah.
However, people certainly seemed very excited about that Hunt for Ben Solo film that will never get made. I mean, there seemed to be a lot of big buzz about that. So it's almost as if people are sort of clamoring for stories to be told in the sequel era, but they're left high and dry. Meanwhile, look what's been getting served up over the last 6 years on Disney Plus. Mandalorian era stuff. Andor. It's all what's the freshest thing.
Right. Well,
the only ones who are feeling truly nostalgic among us in fandom are the Gen Z. They're feeling
this
nostalgic.
Was fascinating, I thought.
Yeah.
Totally
they're feeling nostalgic for the Clone Wars because that's what they grew up on.
Yep.
And so they're revisiting that series.
Yeah. Yeah, the
see
Clone
if they like
Wars is the most streamed Star Wars title for the folks age 14 to 29. I have my pal Chase Norton is like, to me, he's the poster child of that Clone Wars generation, and he's right there in that demographic, and that is his Star Wars, man. He saw a little bit of the prequels in the theaters as a kid, and then Clone Wars came on, and bam, that was his Star Wars. And, Jim, I look back on with so much fondness on Clone Wars, and it was such an amazing time for us as podcasters and as fans. I'm really happy to see that title is showing up on these charts.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. I would think it would have been Star Wars Rebels with the type of momentum that show had when it was being released. What are the years of release for Star Wars Rebels? It's like 2014 to 2018. So I guess people haven't really had time to develop nostalgia for that show. It does feel like it's still very much in the present with those characters being so heavily focused on in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah. It feels very contemporary.
Yeah.
You're right. Whereas the Clone Wars, it was that generation that got a taste as little kids in the theaters for the prequels. And then the Clone Wars was just like, boom, opened up that whole world to them. But still, I mean, Gen Z, that goes all the way down to, kids 14, 15 years old. So it's a pretty big span, but I was very pleased about that. And finally, if we look at the top 10 most streamed Star Wars titles on May the 4th, 2025. So Star Wars Day, May the 4th, 2025, 1 year ago. Number 1, Andor. Coming in, of course.
It was the new thing at the time. It was fresh. It was happening.
That's right.
People were binging it.
Okay. So, yes, that puts it in context. Great. So we'll give it the natural edge because of the timing. Number 2 was Star Wars A New Hope.
I love seeing that.
Absolutely.
I really do. The original, the OG, the real deal, where it all started.
How else you want to celebrate May the 4th, right? Other than watching where it all started.
Right. And it goes to show you that people are putting eyes on that movie even when they're not blowing up the Death Star at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Right. Number 3, The Phantom Menace.
Amazing.
Phenomenal. Beat out Empire Strikes Back, which was number 4. Number 5 was Revenge of the Sith. 6, Strong. Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is often looked at as the weakest of the prequels. It's derided. It's kind of made fun of. But look at it in the top 10. Number 6, followed by Return of the Jedi, and then Rogue One. This was interesting. 9 was Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. Also, I think relatively new around that period of time. And then rounding out the top 10, Star Wars The Clone Wars with, by the way, 132 episodes of that series.
Right.
Wow.
I wonder if that includes the feature film as well. Probably not. Probably not. I would say that would be its own. It would be its own, considered its own title. But in the time we got left, Jim, like just looking at this, and I know you've been very, very vocal, as have I, about Lucasfilm and Disney experimenting and doing genre-based or establishing different tones with the Star Wars product. It would seem this screen right here, when we look at the most streamed Star Wars titles by generation, do you think, in looking at that we've passed the point of no return, and that no matter what we say about it, that Star Wars no longer has a universal tone, that we have to look at this as a portfolio brand where you've got a prestige title or series or something running like an Andor that's going to really go after those folks who want to watch very, very gripping, compelling storytelling. Then you have room for something that's a little more entry level, like a Mandalorian, that's going to be good cross-generationally for the families. And then maybe your world building with your animation. Like, does that fit with all the things that, you and I have been kind of railing about, which is make Star Wars cohesive again and feel like one thing? But these statistics tell us that maybe there's a need and a desire for different tones. Well, that certainly has been the goal of Lucasfilm, was to try to create a Star Wars for everyone. So you can just cherry pick the ones that you like. But I think that dilutes the brand way too much. It really does. And I also think it causes a lot of confusion among the more casual fans. Us hardcore fans, we can follow along with it all and keep it straight. But the casual fans, they get lost, they get confused. And if you lose that sort of mainstream support and it becomes a very niche thing, then Star Wars is going to die on the vine because they won't be generating enough cash to keep it afloat. You have to involve the casuals in a big way. You have to, make the casuals feel like they're super fans.
Yeah,
because I know a lot of casuals who do consider themselves to be super fans.
Well, let me throw this out at you. Imagine if, because a lot of what you're alluding to and what's frustrating for these casual fans is that they're jumping all over the timeline in Star Wars, and this takes place before this movie, and this takes place after that movie. What if they could discipline themselves to focus on a particular era and then have these different tonal expressions of storytelling within the same era, but maybe focused, one's really focused on that sort of cross-generational family. One might be a little bit more, I don't want to say adult, but maybe a little bit more like high-end television series, like an Andor that you could put up there with, these prestige titles, like what's on right now that everyone's raving about is like Landman, these kinds of things. And then animation is out there doing its thing for the younger audiences. So if they could pick a lane in terms of the era, do you think then would there be room for you to have these things kind of reaching different audiences, but all be contributing to sort of the same story, or at least within the same time range?
I think in publishing, they tried to do something like that with the High Republic, where you had novels for adults, you had novels for young adults, you had novels for young readers, you had comic books for young readers. It was just across the board. Then you had your live action show with The Acolyte, and we all know how that went. And I think the High Republic on a whole was kind of the response to it was mediocre.
Yeah.
But they attempted to try to do this to appeal to all sort of different demographics with the same story. But to me, the thing where they failed was it all just came off as like young adult stuff. Even the novels that were written for the more mature fan, it all came off as young adult type of novels, in my opinion. So maybe with a better, more focused approach, it could work when you talk about the live action stuff and the animation.
And throw a film in there that might kick the whole thing off.
Yeah. But also at Disney, they're probably, they probably get greedy about it. And they say, well, look at all these eras we can exploit.
Right.
And they do so without any kind of cohesive game plan. At least that's how it feels from the outside looking in. And I'm just hoping with this new era of Star Wars management with Filoni and his team in there that they'll tighten that focus a little bit. If anyone could do it, it's Dave Filoni, because he actually understands Star Wars and he is the right guy to be managing the brand right now. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
We're still in a honeymoon phase with Dave Filoni after all these years. We're still in a honeymoon phase. Let's see what you can do, Dave. Come on. You got the keys to the car and you know Star Wars and you know what matters to fans. And I think consistency is key in this current era. I mean, consistency was key during the Clone Wars era. That's all they were focused on was prequel era stuff. Sure, you'd get an occasional novel or spin-off comic about the original trilogy, but for the most part, it was all Clone Wars. So let's see what you can do.
Chewie, get us out of here!
All right, that's going to wrap things up here for us this week at Rebel Force Radio. But fear not, we'll be back next week with more Star Wars news. My God, it's a movie year. Not even just a movie year. It's a movie month. We're going to be all together here in just a couple of weeks in Cleveland, watching the film and talking about the film on our live after show. So make sure you get tickets at rebelforceradio.com for that on May 23rd. And of course, I'm sure that for many, many weeks and months, we'll be breaking all of that down and what it means for Star Wars. And Ahsoka Season 2, would be nice to get a confirmation, like a release date on that. Maybe that'll be something, maybe we'll get that this summer, a release date on Ahsoka Season 2, give us the next big thing to look forward to. Jim, I think we were still kind of counting on maybe a holiday time frame, maybe?
Well, the season 1 of Ahsoka debuted in August 2023. I think that'd be a great time to drop it.
I'd love it. It feels like maybe it's too soon, but
too soon
not.
After the release of the Mandalorian film?
Perhaps. But I was thinking maybe it would be the big holiday, like, November, December thing, and that would kind of pace things out, because then we'd only have a few months until Starfighter. But who knows about pacing? There's still that rumor about a Luke Skywalker Tales of the Jedi that's out there.
That gained some traction, actually, leading up to May the 4th. I was surprised by that.
Yes.
Because I really was taking that one with a grain of salt. I didn't feel comfortable with the source who was delivering that news. And I don't know. Maybe if we make enough noise about it, it'll happen.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, if you need more Rebel Force Radio in your life, as we were saying earlier in the program, the best place to get that is over at Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio, weekly full show video. So all those little charts and graphs that we were alluding to, you could have looked at those right along with us if you were members of the group over there on Patreon. Exclusive podcasts that you can't get anywhere else. And that fabulous community of Star Wars fans. And you hear many of them on the after shows. We talk about them. They call us up. You can hear from them and hang out with them, essentially, over there on Patreon. You can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. All of our after shows are there. And if you're like my buddy and you're doing your first time watch on whether it be Clone Wars or Rebels, you can get all of that over on our YouTube channel. Follow us on our socials, Instagram, X, Facebook, the official website, rebelforceradio.com. But the main thing, what matters most, is that you're doing what you're doing right now, listening to Rebel Force Radio. Yeah, like we were saying, there's a lot of excitement around Maul. There's a lot of excitement around Mando and Grogu. And if you've got a Star Wars fan in your life that has not heard about Rebel Force Radio, we appreciate that referral. Let them know and tell them to subscribe. And if they can, if their podcatcher choice allows, leave us a review. We'd love to have one. Just one simple rule, please.
Make them good.
All right, we'll see you next week for more Rebel Force Radio. For RFR, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Over here, you moof-milking laser brain!